Well, hi there. I didn't even see you. Welcome to another satisfying edition of Orphan Surfacing Behind the Scenes. I'm your host, author Nathan Day. And just a reminder, Orphan Surfacing from 7th Star Press releases in summer of 2017. You lucky dogs. I'm going to go ahead and get right into it. Tonight I want to talk briefly about using real-life circumstances and experiences hopefully to enrich the Orphan universe and story. There are a lot of things that I found that when I look at my life, I look at the people in my life, using some of the quirks. I heard a long time ago that if you want to make a character feel real, give them a little personality quirk, give them a weird habit, something that we all do. If it's just the way they, raid the fridge and drink out of the milk carton, or if it's, the type of music that they listen to or their guilty pleasures, that kind of thing. Or little nervous tics, that kind of thing. Just those little things that when you really look at the people around you, you see that that we all have, and it helps keep the characters from feeling flat and static. As I've talked about before, Orphan deals a lot with angels, demons, these paramilitary groups, scientists with this far advanced technology. But to me, the glue is the characters like the homeless man, or the college student, or the priest, or the single mom, or the emotionally abused wife. These everyman characters who really kind of tie the whole thing together and get thrust into this very fantastical storyline. And what I've done, like when looking at character names and stuff like that, a lot of times I'll kind of think back, of people that I've known, people who have influenced me, people that have supported me along the way. And a lot of times I'll take names and I'll mix match names together as a way to kind of pay tribute to certain people. There's also a lot of personal circumstances that I'm using to help flesh out certain backstories, whether it's locations that I know, like the town in southern Indiana where my father grew up, or the trailer park that I grew up in, that I feel like writing just a little bit in these locations helps me put the reader there, and because it's someplace I'm familiar with, it's someplace I know the nuances of, and I know the personality of, and hopefully that's going to just make that more lifelike as it's being read. Lanza de los Santos is the city that I created for the story, and it's at least in the beginning kind of the main hub of what's going on. But it's definitely something of my own creation, and it's something that my own little sandbox that I can piece together as I go. And while it's got its own personality, I feel drawing from these real life places are going to make them feel a lot more fleshed out. And so that's really important to me, that the reader is right there in the middle of all the action. There's one character in particular that I've drawn on two different stories, both one that I heard about and one that I unfortunately saw firsthand. And the one that I heard about has to do with a vehicle that I had that came to be known as the Death Machine. And the gentleman who owned it before me fell on hard times, some very tragic circumstances, and some choices that he made ultimately led to me getting the vehicle. And so I've kind of placed one character where he's in a very similar situation. It has to make a choice where he's got kind of a coward's way out, or so to speak, versus a way that's going to that scares the hell out of him, but in the long run is going to be of more benefit to others. So he's got a hard choice to make. But also to the circumstances that kind of build him up to that, I drew a little bit as well from the story of my father's battle with cancer, and everything he went through up until we lost him some years ago. And just, again, these are details and, stories that I'm intimate with, and being able to draw upon them, I think, is going to add just a much more human element to the story itself. I also find too in life that, life has a way of throwing the Deus Ex Machina out there. Just one instance is we lost one of my aunts to cancer as well. And just the Christmas before we lost her, I had been given a Homer Simpson keychain as a Christmas gift, and it had 4 different buttons on it, and each one had a different quote. And I got to the funeral parlor for her funeral. I was running late as I usually do, and As I sat down, my pants creased in such a way that it triggered one of the buttons. And so in the middle of this dead quiet, somber moment, all of a sudden you hear Homer Simpson yelling out, "Boy, this is the worst party ever." I do a bad Homer, by the way. And I just went blood red, and I'm sitting there, I'm banging my pocket trying to get the thing to shut up, which is a bad idea because all that happens is I hit another button. And next thing you know, you hear him say, "Feeling stupid? I know I do." And looking back, I was very angry and, embarrassed, not because, I can deal with, personal embarrassment and me doing goofy things, but it felt like an insult to my aunt's legacy. We were there to pay tribute to her, and it felt very disrespectful. But in retrospect, talking with some other people about it, it ended up being kind of a funny anecdote in an otherwise very sad time. And life throws those things at you, and I think that if you draw upon them, you can enrich your story in other ways other than just writing a very straight funeral scene that's devoid of anything but sadness, because life isn't just one emotion, and life comes at you from all different angles. So I try to draw on that as much as I can. I know a lot of writers do, to just make everything seem more realistic. Whatever I can do to draw the reader in is, the story's going to be all the better for it. So anyway, that's all I'm going to get into tonight. I want to thank you again for giving me just a few minutes of your time. Once again, Orphan Surfacing comes out in summer of 2017 from 7 Star Press. And I always want to encourage people, especially if you follow my Facebook and you see some of the posts that I share from other authors, please take just a few seconds, click on those links, check out the work that other people are doing. These are people who, they're not on the bestsellers list, but they're brilliant people with great stories, and they deserve your support. And your support is what's going to get them to the bestsellers list. So please, please, please go and check these many, many authors and musicians and actors, these very talented people out. Thank you very much. Have a great night.